Welcome to this Your DEQ online training session focusing on hazardous waste generator annual reporting. My name is Jessica Lorenz and I am a trainer with Your DEQ Online. And today I'm joined by Mary Fritzman, the hazardous waste reporting and invoicing coordinator, as well as Margaret Gardner, the Your DEQ Online project change manager and trainer. The focus of today's training is completing the hazardous waste annual generator report. This will also include a live demo by Mary, as well as some resources to aid in your success with completing the report, as well as signing up for an account. The first stop in beginning the annual report is to log into the Your DEQ Online portal. To access the report, you need to have created an account and link to a facility. Resources for account setup and linking to facilities will be provided at the end of this training. And so to begin, I will have logged into the portal. And once you have logged in and linked to a facility, the reporting obligations associated with your facility are determined based on the facility data currently in the Your DEQ Online system. Now, there are two components associated with our hazardous waste annual generator report. The first component over here on the left-hand side of my screen is the RCRA site ID notification form. The second component is the hazardous waste annual generator report. Now, the main focus of today's training is going to be the hazardous waste annual generator report, but we're going to take a brief look at the site ID notification report. To access the RCRA site ID report, you are going to begin on the Your DEQ Online portal dashboard. And so once you're in the dashboard, you can see all the way over to the right-hand side of the screen at the top, there is a tab titled Upcoming Obligations and Unpaid Submittals. When you select this tab, you will be brought down to the bottom of the screen. It will scroll you down, and you will see linked to your facility, the hazardous waste RCRA site ID notification report. There are two elements that I would like to point to. The first is this blue pencil here, which we will select to begin the report. But also next to it is a little blue eye icon. And if you select that icon, a user guide that accompanies this site ID notification report PDF will download, and that will enable you to give directions for completing this particular report. So let's begin by clicking this blue pencil icon to take a look at what the site ID report looks like. The site ID report for the annual report has 20 different sections. I'm just going to highlight the first 3 sections here. So when the report opens, you will land on the basic information page. And there are 3 fields that are going to auto-populate. The first field is the reason for the submittal. We can see here it's to provide a component for the hazardous waste report. The second auto-populated field is the reporting year for 2021, as well as the RCRA site ID number for the facility that you are linked to. Now, one particular field that you can make changes to is this drop down here for if ownership changed, and you will be presented with 2 options, filing for the entire year or filing for a partial year. The next area that I would like to bring our attention to is this red auto-populate button. By selecting this button, the rest of the fields on this report form will auto-populate with information in the Your DEQ Online system. So we want to be sure to select this auto-populate button so that the data populates into this form, and you can go through and take a look at the data that populates through. So this RCRA site ID report is an accompaniment to the hazardous waste generator report. So let's take a look at that annual report now. So we access the annual report the same way that we did the RCRA site ID form, by going to the dashboard, selecting upcoming obligations, that will move us down to the bottom of the page, and we will see the hazardous waste annual generator report. Now notice we have these same icons that we did with the site ID. We have the eye, which if we select that, it will bring up a PDF of a user guide that accompanies the annual report. And once again, that blue pencil icon that enables us to edit the report. So once we select that blue pencil icon, it will bring us to the first page of the report. And on this first page of the report, you will see up at the top, there are 5 tabs, and this is standardized across your DEQ online submittal system. So with these tabs here, we have the basic information, tab 1. Tab 2 is for attachments. There are no attachments associated with the annual report. The tab 3, which is payment, tab 4, which is review, which you'll be able to download a PDF of the submittal, and then of course tab 5, which is the submission tab. So we're going to begin with the basic information tab, but before we do, I would like to draw your attention to the save icon, the pink floppy disk icon at the bottom of every page. You want to be sure that every time you enter information that you save before you navigate away from the page, to be sure that your data that you've entered becomes saved within the system. So always click the save button. So let's take a look now at this basic information tab. Here with this basic information tab, under this tab, we have some fields that auto-populate, just as we did with the site ID form. So the reporting year, 2021, the facility that we're linked to, and also the RCRA ID number. And there are a couple of areas I would also like to highlight that are particular to this tab here. So we see in the upper left-hand side of the corner, we have a green submittal ID number for this particular report. You'll also notice here what's unique to this tab is that red exclamation mark. And what this is this red exclamation mark indicates to us as we're moving through the tab that there are fields that need to be filled out, that need to be completed before the submission can go through. So this is a validation field, and it's an indication to me that I still have some more work to do. I still have data to enter before I can submit this particular report. So always be on the lookout for that red exclamation point. The next area that I'm going to point out here is this manila folder colored section that's titled Click to Download Excel Template. So the next section of this basic information report tab is the description of the hazardous waste stream. And there are 2 options for entering this information. The first option here is to import this information from this Excel template. So if I click the download Excel template, it comes up with an Excel file. And the first page of this Excel file that opens is the waste stream management page, in which you'll enter waste stream management information. But I also want to draw your attention to, when you open that Excel file, if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you will see that this file contains 3 tabs. The first is the waste stream management information. The second is the manifest information, and the third is the offsite facility information. So it's important to note that there are 3 tabs contained within this one Excel document. And so this is one particular avenue for inputting your waste stream information, which is importing through the Excel template. The next avenue that we have for entering this data is the manual entry of the waste stream information. And so I'm going to take a brief look at the manual entry of this information, and then Mary is going to provide us with a live demo of this. So to start with this description of the hazardous waste stream, what we're going to do is we are going to manually type in this data by adding our waste stream rows. So we can add here, if you see my cursor here, we can add between 1 and 20 rows by clicking this add items. So if I click this drop down menu, between 1 and 20 will show up. I've added 3 for the purpose of this demo. If you need more than 20, you can add another set of rows. So I've added 3 here. And what's interesting is this auto-populates with the RCRA ID number from my facility, and then those sequences auto-populate as well. And then you're also going to notice here, we have that red exclamation points is showing up again. And what that's indicating to me, once again, is that there's information here that needs to be completed, that needs to be satisfied before I can submit the report. So if I click this, for this particular waste stream row, if I click this blue arrow here, what's going to come up for me is the opportunity in section A here to describe the waste stream. Now you'll notice on this form there is a mixture of data fields that are presented in white and data fields that are presented in red. And those fields that are presented in red are those that are required for validation. So the first A1 here is your waste stream identification, if you would like to provide that optional identification description. And then we move into the required fields. And Mary's going to talk more about these required fields, but I wanted to highlight that there are two new reporting requirements for the annual report, two new reporting fields, which are A9 and A10. In A9, you are going to enter the waste minimization code that describes the type of waste minimization, recycling, pollution, or prevention efforts used to reduce the volume and toxicity of their hazardous waste generated. And that's a drop-down menu, and Mary will be showing those choices in the live demo. There's also A10, a yes or no response to indicate if the hazardous waste was mixed with a nuclear source. And so A9 and A10 are two new fields to be on the lookout for in this particular first section, Section A. The next section I'm going to move on to, Section B, is for the manifest information or the waste management activities. And in this particular section, we also see that we have areas that need to be completed before the form can be submitted. One particular field that I would like to draw your attention to is B2. Was the waste stream managed on-site, off-site, or both? So in that drop-down menu, you'll have the ability of those three choices. And depending on which of those choices you choose, there will be some changes that are made on this field. So if the waste stream was managed on-site, then you'll have B3 here to fill out and complete. If it was managed off-site, B3 will disappear and you'll have B6 show up, and I'll show that in a moment. If the waste stream was managed both on and off-site, you'll have B3 as well as B6. And what B6 is, it's the manifest information. And so if you manage that waste off-site or both on and off-site, this data field will show up, and on B6, all of these fields are required for validation. And there's one in particular that I would like to highlight. Was this waste stored and transferred, the H141? And Mary will be talking about that further, but that yes or no response there is required. The next section of this description of the waste stream is the offsite identification. And here you will be entering the RCRA ID of the transporter and or the TSDF, and you'll be validating those RCRA IDs. And so for this particular section, keep in mind that there are two ways that you can present the data in this section. You can either import through that Excel file, or you can manually enter that information. And Mary Fritzman is going to be providing now a live demo of how to enter that information. Mary, I'm stopping sharing my screen.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. I will share my screen here. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes, Mary, it looks great.
Okay, all right. So just for reference, I am logged in the user acceptance testing database, which is not the production database, and I'm logged in as a public user. So I will show you what the public users, the generators, see when they log in. So this is the dashboard here. The dashboard is this icon here, and you can open the dashboard by going to these three horizontal lines here, or there's also this little arrow down at the bottom to open and close the dashboard insights. So the dashboard, everything on the dashboard relates to these insights on the left-hand side. So your new submittals here relate to this. And if you want to open up the whole new submittal sites, you can simply click on this icon, or you can click on these three blue dots down at the bottom here, and you'll see all the new submittals that you have access to, depending on what programs you are linked to for your user account. So back to the dashboard here. So for purposes today, I'm going to show you when you have your report obligations that are published to your account for the sites that you're linked with. So we can go here, or we can just simply scroll down. So these are my report obligations that are required to be submitted. And I'm going to open up, I am going to open up this one here. Again, as Jessica said, this is your information PDF. If you click on that, you'll get a new window open with the PDF of the user instructions. But I'm going to hit edit here and look at the form. Okay, so this is the generator annual report form. It's got the 5 tabs up here that Jessica mentioned. It auto-populates the report year, also your site, the name of your site, the address of your site, and then your RCRA ID number. So the first section is to import your data through the Excel template, which we're going to go through later. The next section, I'm going to show you how to add waste streams. I'm just going to delete these because it was working in there earlier. So you go to the description of hazardous waste stream, and then you can add as many rows as waste streams as you have for the year. So you can choose between 1 and 20 to add at a time. So I'm going to add 2 here. And then you click the add items button. So now I have 2 waste streams. They're empty. There's no data in them. So hence the red exclamation mark for each waste stream. And also in the basic info tab, there's the red exclamation mark because we have data we need to still satisfy. So to open it up, you click on that blue triangle icon there, and you scroll down a little bit, and you'll see it's auto-populated with your RCRA ID number and the sequence number. And as Jessica said, this is section A. It's basically a description of your waste stream. So A1 is optional. A2 is a brief description of your waste stream. So we'll call it corrosive solid waste. Okay. A3 and A4 are hazardous waste codes. And so A3 is for EPA federal waste codes. They're usually on your manifest. They should be on your manifest. So you want to choose the federal waste codes. So you click on the drop-down icon over here, and you get a list of all 575 federal waste codes, beginning with the D codes, the F codes, the K codes, P and U codes. You can simply choose the codes, or you can go up to the top and type here. So D002 is corrosive. So we'll just pick that one. And if you have state-only waste, you would choose that, and then you would not be allowed to fill in the federal waste code. It's one or the other. You choose federal waste codes or state waste codes. So I'm just going to choose my federal waste code again. And then section A5 is the source code. And this is the code that best describes the type of process or activity from which this waste stream was generated. And you click on the drop down, and there are several options to choose from here. So you just go through and pick the best choice for how your waste was managed, how your waste was generated. So I'll pick GO2. And then section A6 is the form code, which best corresponds to the physical form or chemical composition of your waste stream. So there's a drop down, and there's several waste form codes. So we'll pick one that is for acidic, corrosive here. We'll take that one. Section A7 is an optional field. It has no red exclamation mark or required notification there. This relates to your toxics release inventory report. If you report that to EPA, we would want you to include the CAS, the chemical abstract numbers that you report for this particular waste stream. What type of chemicals are associated with this waste stream? So there are many to choose from. So just pick up to 4 of the chemicals that relate to this waste stream. Section 8-8 is mercury. So you just simply say yes or no. No, you've satisfied that field. If you say yes, then you have to put in the % of mercury. And there is a validation rule on this. You can only put in up to, I think, 3 decimal points. So you want to put in 0.001, and then that will satisfy the requirement there. Or you can also enter up to 100% mercury. So we'll just click no here. Section A-9 is the waste minimization code. And as Jessica said, this is a new data field that EPA is requiring for the biennial reports, which we upload the biennial report data to EPA's database for all the large quantity generators for the odd years. So we just require all this information for all the reports. So you would choose the option that best relates to your initiatives to try to reduce your waste that you generate and the chemicals that you use. So whichever option works best for this waste stream here. And then A-10 is a new data field also. It's the radioactive mixed waste. It defaults to no because most waste is not radioactive. But if for some reason yours is, then you would just check the yes box here. Okay, then section B is the hazardous waste management activities. So in B1, you enter the total amount of waste that was generated for this particular waste stream in the year. So say it was 5,000, and then you choose your unit of measure. So pounds, tons, and kilograms are fine units of measure on their own. They don't need any conversion. But if you were to choose gallons or cubic yards, you would have to enter a conversion factor. So with gallons, you can go pounds per gallon or specific gravity, which we use. Just a gallon of water weighs 8.345. So that's the conversion factor for specific gravity. But if you just pick pounds, tons, or kilograms, there's no conversion factor. And then also B4 and B5 relate to what you've generated, because oftentimes you may not be able to ship all your waste at the end of the year. So B4 and B5 are for carryover of your waste from year to year. B4 is waste remaining on site at the end of the reporting year, and B5 is what was carried forward from the previous reporting year. But so between what was generated and what was carried forward and what was managed, it should balance out to be somewhat equal. And then, as Jessica said, B2 is the location of how the waste was managed. So on-site, off-site, or both. If you choose on-site, then the B3 data fields have to be satisfied. And you can put in 5,000 pounds that you generated. And this does move a little bit here. And you manage it on site, say by neutralization, because it was a corrosive waste. And then you don't get the B6 data fields to fill out. But if you manage this waste offsite, if you ship it offsite for management to a permitted facility, your B3 option goes away, which is fine because it's managed offsite. And then you get the B6 option, which is your manifest information. So again, you can add as many rows. If you ship once a week, once a month, then you'd want to add 12 rows. If you only ship, a couple times a year, you'd want to add 2 rows for that. So we'll add those, add 2 rows there. And this is the manifest information. So we have 2 rows available. So we want to enter the date that the date on the manifest that we shipped it, that our transporter came and picked it up. And then the manifest number. It's 9 digits with 3 alpha characters at the end. So you want to add all that information. The quantity shipped in April, we will say that we shipped 2,000 pounds. And the transporter ID, we can simply type this in. That's a transporter ID number. And the management method code, we'll say it was neutralized offsite maybe. And then the designated facility, RCR ID number. Just type that in manually. You do need to currently use capitals. So there we go. And then, as Jessica mentioned, this is a new data field here. Was this waste stored and transferred offsite? So oftentimes when your transporter picks up your waste and it goes to a designated facility, that permitted site might not be able to manage. They might not be permitted for the specific management for that particular waste stream. So on your manifest, you'll see at the bottom in section 19 of your manifest, the management method code is H141, which means it was taken to that initial facility that's on your manifest, but since they're not permitted or for whatever reason they can't manage it, they will repackage it, they'll store it and repackage it and transfer it to a site that is permitted for that particular management activity. So you would need to say yes if your initial manifest had the H141 code. But DEQ, we also need to know what the actual management method is of the waste so that we can calculate the fees that you owe to DEQ. So it's important to get the actual management method of the waste, and then also check yes or no whether that waste was initially stored and transferred. So I'll just add another row here. Say we shipped waste in September. And we have another manifest number. And we balance out our 5,000 pounds that we say we generated with 3,000. So now we've satisfied this little error message that says you have to match basically what you generated with what you managed. So that satisfies that validation rule. And for instance, if you have several shipments a year, you might not want to cut and paste, copy and paste, or type in the transporter ID and the designated facility ID each time you have to enter a manifest row. So you would come down to the very bottom of the form and go to the offsite identification section here. And you can add as many rows as you need to enter your transporters and your designated facilities. And then they'll show in the drop down in these data fields up here. So I will quickly add these. And this is my transporter. You have to check what type of handler they are. So they're a transporter. And then that requirement is fulfilled there. And then number 2 is our designated facility. And they are the TSD receiving facility. And that's good there. And you can enter as many rows as you need to for the offsite facilities. And then when we go to enter this, we'll notice it comes in the drop down, which is a little easier than typing or copying and pasting all the time. So, and then this one here. And then we do have to satisfy the H141. If it's no, then you just simply click no. So that satisfies that. Now we still have a red exclamation mark up here. So which one of my data fields is not satisfied? I'm not seeing it. Oh, no, it should tell me. Let's see if I save it. Oh, it's because I have another waste stream I have to fill out, of course. So I chose 2 waste streams to fill out. So my first one is satisfied. My second one needs to be filled out. So you just go through the same process. You type in the description of your waste stream, you enter your waste code, state waste codes, federal waste codes, or state waste codes, not both, just one or the other, the source code, the form code, your toxics release inventory, CAS numbers if you have those, mercury yes or no, waste minimization code, radioactive mixed waste, and then the amount generated, how it was managed, and then the manifest information. So I'm just going to delete this row here. Yeah, and the red trash can is an icon that you can use to just delete the row. If you've added an extra waste stream and you don't need it, then you can just delete it. So now my form is satisfied. The red exclamation mark is gone. So now I can save it and I can submit it. So again, there are no attachments that are required for this particular form. There are no payments required when you initially submit your generator report. We do some quality assurance checks on the data, and then we issue invoices in June. So you'll see those issued in June sometime. The review tab, you can open up the PDF of your report just to double check it if you want to just review it instead of reviewing each waste stream, waste stream by waste stream back in the basic info tab. And then if you are a consultant preparer, down below here at the bottom here, you'll see a little spot where you would notify your responsible official. You would put in their email address and then hit e-notify, and the responsible official is going to get an email that says this particular submittal here, the submittal ID number for the generator report is completed and ready to be reviewed and submitted. And then your responsible official would submit it. That's the account type that's allowed to submit data. But since I'm logged in as a responsible official, I get the submission tab and I go over here to submission and I have to certify that everything is true and accurate. I've read that, so I click yes. I answer one security question and then I enter my PIN. And then at the bottom here, I will see the submit data button is not grayed out. It's available to me. So I'll click submit. Submitted successfully up here, it says. And then it gives you a little review of the date you submitted it, your email address, who you are. You can print this as a receipt to save. You'll also get an option for that receipt when you go back to your dashboard, but you click finish and it actually takes you back to the submitted submittal section. So this is a submittal that I just submitted, 30186. And if I go to the details icon here, the little orange eyeball, it takes you to the submitted submittals. And this is where you'll see there's a PDF of your report. There's also a PDF of the receipt of your report, the day you received it, who submitted it, some other information there. You can check on the review status because DEQ staff have to go through each submittal and approve them. So you can just check and see how your approval process is going there. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the dashboard and I'm going to show you that.
Mary, while you do that, I want to add one thing about that submittal, because this is Margaret. We've had questions about this in other trainings. Only the responsible official can finalize, certify, and submit that submittal. The consultant can be delegated to do preparation, but the RO, the responsible official, is the legally responsible party for the final submittal. And when Mary entered the security question and the PIN number, that's associated with the security information for that RO's account. There'll be one of the 5 security questions that come up when you register your account. One of those will be randomly selected to answer. More information about account registration, what type of account to select, is all available on your DEQ online with a link to the account registration page. Thanks, Mary, for letting me interrupt. I'll go ahead and mute now. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Margaret. Thanks for that additional information. So I will go to my report obligations again, and this site here, where did it go? This site here, my Haz waste test site, generator annual report. I'll show you how to import the data from the Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so if you click to download this template, it will open up down here, but I have it open already. So I'm gonna to show you what it looks like. This is the first tab is the GM primary. And of course there will be no data here because you'll have to fill it in. And you fill in, just exactly what it says up here. Also on this spreadsheet, there's the import definitions, which was recently added to the spreadsheet. So you might want to review that again. It tells you what the waste codes are, or what the data fields are, some of the hints on what's allowed, a Y or an N. It's got to be a capital Y or an N. The units of measure, what's allowed, like you can't type in pounds, the value is LB, capital LB, gallons is capital GAL, tons, cubic yards, etc. So this is very valuable to have the import definitions. So anyways, you fill out, for your waste streams, this for the demonstration, I've got, I think 60 or so waste streams here, 65 waste streams. So you fill out all the information and you just copy everything. You have to copy the whole sheet. So while you may not have any comments for your waste streams, you still have to copy that sheet so that it imports properly. Copy those data fields. So all the way from A to AG, and then down to as many waste streams as you have. And just to review this here, these are where the new waste streams are right here. Not waste streams, the new data fields that EPA is requiring. A9 is the waste minimization code, and A10. So if you do use your own spreadsheet for importing data in the old hazwaste.net database, you're going to want to add some columns here and add these data fields. So, okay, so I'm going to copy this and then go back to YDO and click the import button here and then paste this here. And then it gives you an option to preview all this data, which is a lot of it. So you can just preview it while you're looking at the waste streams. So we click import. Okay, and then we'll see that we have a bunch of waste streams here. We had a total of 65, so there's 10 on a page. So we have 60, and then we have 5 on this next page here. And they all have the red exclamation mark because we have not yet imported our shipment sent. So we go back to the spreadsheet, and there's a lot of shipments sent here. It's going to capture all this data here. Copy it. Paste it here. Okay, it's got the preview if you want to look at all that. There's like a couple thousand rows, I think. Click import. Okay. And so now we see we still have the red exclamation mark, and waste stream number 70 here has a red exclamation mark. So let me go back to the first set. So this is where this option here comes in really handy. If you're importing many waste streams, you may have an error. You may have made a typo or put the wrong source code in or something like that. So if you click on this box, it will show you the waste streams that you have errors with, which is, I made these errors on purpose in the spreadsheet. So waste stream 1, 15, and 70. So you just open those up and it will give you an idea of what the issue is here. So it's missing the waste code because I typed in, instead of D002, I typed in D200. So it wouldn't pick that up. It wouldn't import that because it's an incorrect waste code. So now that data field's corrected. The next one is the source code, because I typed in G99 and there is no G99 waste code, source code. So I'll just pick one to satisfy that. And this waste stream is satisfied. And then the last one is down in the shipment sent. I put the wrong year in. I put in 2020 instead of 2021. So it doesn't like that because it's not, it makes you type the whole thing again here. Okay. Come on. Okay, so now that's satisfied with the correct year and the date. And you can close that up. And if you want to preview, you can go here. You can get a PDF of the data. It's going to take a few minutes to create this PDF because there's so many waste streams and shipments sent. So I'm not going to click on it because it will take a little bit too long to do it for this demonstration. Sorry. But you go back to the basic info tab. If you want to review it, you can just open up, you can unclick that. You get all your rows back. You can open up each row and review. What you can do is you can also export your data back to the Excel template to make sure that it's correct. You know, if you want to review it that way in Excel. So you have those couple options, either by exporting it to review it again, or by clicking this review tab to get the PDF. So again, no attachments, no payment right now. We will invoice in June. The review is for PDF, or if you're a consultant, you'll see a option down here to alert your responsible official. And then you can submit the data by certifying and putting in your security questions and your PIN number, and then you'll be finished. So that's how you would upload data by the Excel import feature. And I did want to share one other thing with folks. If you go to the Has Waste reporting page, you'll see some information here. Let me go to the reporting page here. Come on. This is the Has Waste reporting system page. Gives some information on YDO. This is a link to the actual portal to log in. This little box down here will give you a link to the old haswaste.net database, which is available as read-only. So you can at least look at your old data if you need to get some insight on what you reported last year. You can also download it into this template, but it's missing those couple extra data fields. So take care on that. And you can also get to the reporting help page, clicking there, or it's also over here. You can get to the new template here, the import file definitions, the user guides, information on how to help with the annual report. So that's it for today for the annual report. Thank you, Margaret and Jessica.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for that demonstration.
thank you,
Okay.
Mary. And I would like to show, folks some resources for account setup. And Mary showed specific resources for the annual report, but I would like to show some resources for account setup. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly here. And Margaret, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you, Margaret. So there are a couple of pages. So the first page that Mary very kindly showed was the help page, the getting started page for the generator annual report specifically, but we also have some wonderful resources for logging into your account. So for getting started on your DEQ online and also for public account registration. So I wanted to show you the Your DEQ Online help page here. And it talks about on this help page of considering the account type you'll need, some instructional guides. So I wanted to show some really important places here on this particular page. The first is over here on the right-hand side, we have the login to the portal. Mary showed that on the Hazardous Waste site, but it's also here. There's also a link to the Your DEQ Online help desk. So we have one centralized help desk that is dedicated to helping and providing communications for the Your DEQ Online help system. And so that's a wonderful resource. I also wanted to show you towards the bottom of the page here, we have user guides for the programs that are currently live in the Your DEQ Online system. And if we scroll down here, Hazardous Waste, a little bit towards the bottom, if we scroll down here and open this up here and select the resources that are on the Hazardous Waste page are also represented here. So we have user guides. So here's a wonderful user guide for the generator report specifically. We also have a user guide for the hazardous waste reduction, the site ID user guide. We have a fact sheet. We also have a link to the hazardous waste reporting site that Mary just showed. So this is a wonderful resource. This is also a great resource if you're working in other programs. Say, for instance, if you're working in stormwater too, that this information is represented for each of the programs that are live. So I wanted to show you that. I'm also going to come up here to the top of the page too, which is a wonderful section on learn more about the public user account registration. So if we select that, this page comes up, which is a very, very valuable page for how to connect with registering your account online. And so some of the resources that I would like to draw attention to, we have a user guide specifically dedicated to account registration. So in this user guide, it provides a setup for how do I set up my account, what type of account, how do I link to facilities. So this user guide is a great resource. We also have live webinars for how to set up account registration. And so we record those webinars, and the recording of one is here. We also have a wonderful fact sheet about which type of account, the general public account, the responsible official account, or the consultant account, because that's one of the very first decisions that you're going to make when establishing your account. That's very, very important. So we have a wonderful fact sheet that helps with that. We also have, in speaking of account type, we also have a drop-down menu here for the responsible official. Talking about, okay, these are the characteristics of the responsible official account type, as well as the consultant account type. So this page provides a lot of information and resources for account setup. I also wanted to draw your attention to, at the bottom of the page, at the top of the page, there was the recorded webinars, but there are opportunities to participate in live webinars where we will walk folks through setting up an account and linking to a facility. And also provide an opportunity for Q&A if time allows. And so you'll see opportunities to sign up and register for a webinar through Zoom at the bottom of the account registration page. So we have two important pages here: account registration, as well as the getting started, and then of course the third important page that Mary showed, which is the page specifically dedicated to the generator annual report. Thank you so much for your time today and watching this webinar. If you have any questions about filling out your annual report, please do visit the Your DEQ Online Help Desk or utilize the annual reporting hotline. And on behalf of myself and Mary and Margaret, thank you very much for your participation in the webinar. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us through the help desk.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.